Welcome to the Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast, where you get multifamily investing made real. Learn from top players in the real estate investment world as they share their secrets with you and discover proven strategies on apartment investing that actually work. To learn more about Wheelbarrow Profits, visit jakeandgino.com, your one-stop shop for everything multifamily. Now to your hosts, Jake and Gino.
Hello, everybody. This is Jake Stenziano, host of the Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast, here with my co-host, the multifamily mentor, the coach, the chef, the father of six, the best-selling author, the G-Daddy. No effins today. Gino Barber, how's it going?
Mr. Stenziano, I'm doing good. How you doing, bro?
Man, we got two deals popping off. I got bobcats flipping in the backyard with the tree guys, and we had the chimney guy over today, and you got a lot of things going on. So it's
got
good,
refis going on, got everything going on.
Mm-hmm. Bobcats flipping. So. Hey, before we get started, let's give a quick shout out to our sponsor, CrowdStreet, who knows you don't have to know a guy to find a quality commercial real estate investment opportunity. Learn more at crowdstreet.com/wheelbarrow. And for visiting, they're going to give you a free gift. Really nice guys there. Today's guest is MJ DeMarco. MJ is an entrepreneur and the author of The Millionaire Fast Lane and Unscripted. Today, we are going to get our learn on and discover the differences between the sidewalk, slow lane, and the fast lane. Do you know the differences?
I've done a lot of live calls on these books. We're going to do one actually tomorrow on Facebook with the Jake and Gino community because if they haven't heard the message, they got to hear the message.
I need the message, baby. So without further ado, MJ, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me, man.
Hey, our pleasure. Let's get this kicked off. Tell us about your background and how you got started in business.
Sure. I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur from an early age. But, like most entrepreneurs, I struggled for, at least, 6, 7, 8 years. I graduated college, at 22, two business degrees. And I struggled for about 4 years, failed in multiple ventures. Then eventually I found myself involved in the limousine industry, which I created a ground transportation aggregator company. And I built that with basically no money, no formal training, no networking contacts. Did it all on my own. Owned that company for 10 years. Cash floated 6 figures monthly profit for over 10 years. Actually was able to sell it twice. I sold it once during the craziness of the dot-com era, bought it back in a bankruptcy reorganization, and then owned it again for several years and ended up selling it again to another company out in Silicon Valley. After I sold the company for a multi-million-dollar valuation, I ended up taking a kind of semi-retirement where I decided to focus on writing books that I wish I would have been able to read when I was 20 years old and struggling. Mm-hmm. And that's where we get to The Millionaire Fast Lane, my first book, and Unscripted, my second book. And so right now I own a publishing company that, publishes my books and run a forum, a business community forum that has over 40,000 entrepreneurs in it and over 500,000 discussions. So I'm very deep in the trenches with entrepreneurs and seeing, what their struggles are and what kind of problems they're having. So it was very instrumental in helping me write these two books, not to mention my own struggles as an entrepreneur.
Do you think your entrepreneur passion started when you were 16 years old and you saw a Lamborghini? Is that where you think it was ignited? Yeah.
It was a young man that was outside an ice cream store, and I wasn't 16. I think it was more like 13 or 14. And I went up to him and asked him what he did, because I was expecting, a baseball player or something, because the guy was relatively young. And he said he was an inventor. So that planted the seed for me. And then I started doing some more research into it, and I found out that, a lot of people who live extraordinary lives were entrepreneurs, and that they were doing this stuff young. And this was back in a time where we didn't have the internet. So this was happening back then as well. So that kind of planted the seed for me. But again, it took me years before my identity as an entrepreneur actually matched with actually being one.
MJ, what I like about in the book, you talk about passion. People think they start a passion in their business. They start out, and you talked about, let's say, a karate studio. That guy's passionate about opening a karate studio. Can you talk about that? Speak to that, because I think a lot of us think that we have to do our passion. I like what you say. Listen, make the money and then follow your passion. That's sort of what I ended up doing. I did it that way, just falling into it. So yeah. I love the way you broke that down in the book.
Again, because I work with thousands of entrepreneurs, I see that following your passion is destructive career advice. And it's because once you start doing that for money, the passion starts to change a little bit. So I hear a lot of entrepreneurs actually say, yeah, I followed my passion in photography, for personal training, for this, for that. And after they start doing it, the love for it goes away and they destroy that passion. Mm-hmm. So I'm more the person of, you know what, forget about these passions. You can do that. Like, I follow my passion now and I don't have to worry about money. So that's what makes it beautiful is, I can write books like The Millionaire Fastlane and Unscripted and not really have to worry if they're going to sell or if the message is all kind of all over the place, because I don't have to worry about that because it's truly a passion. So when you're following your passion, usually the industry is incredibly saturated, which means you become a commoditized person. You're selling your time for the least amount of money because there's always someone behind you willing to undercut you. That's because you got all these people following their passion. And then the other problem is it also implies that success is going to be fun. It's going to be easy. There's no process. Oh, this is passionate. And when you get into that kind of expectation, you're leading yourself to failure, into thinking, oh, this is all going to be a ride on the rainbow for me to become the #1 bestseller. And it's far from that.
I want to jump in here because I'm a living example of everything you just discussed. I grew up in a small town, didn't really know what to do, played football, played sports. So I said, you know what, I'm going to become a gym teacher. Well, that was the stupidest thing I've ever done. I went out, these kids, I'm like, these kids don't want to play football and they don't want to play dodgeball, right? So I'm like, I'm following my passion. So mistake number 1, thank God Radio Shack saved me from that. Mistake number 2, when I got out of college to make some extra money, I started personal training like you just talked about because I thought, I love working out. I started hating the gym. I'm trying to go there and I'm self-motivated. I'm trying to get these other people that are not motivated to work out. They didn't want to do it. So I start hating the gym. So, all these things, to Steve Jobs things, talks about it, in the passion, do what you love, never work a day in your life and all this stuff. I don't agree with it. I think that when you become good at something and you start making money, you start enjoying it. Yeah. And then now I can go downstairs right now, hit my gym, work out all I want. And I enjoy that. And I'm not, spinning my wheels, wasting my time trying to motivate other people that don't want to be there. Very important takeaway here is what's called a feedback loop.
And once you engage the marketplace with something that they love, oh my God, your song is wonderful, or your book is wonderful, that inspires passion. So passion does not lead, it actually follows what your effort is. A good example is winning. Winning always inspires passion. So when you see a losing football team, they're 0-16 on the year, you don't see a lot of passion on that team because they're not winning. So winning inspires passion. You don't follow the passion as if it's going to erase the trials and tribulations of the work. No, winning will inspire passion. And the process to winning is not very fun. It's challenging.
Our perfect examples, we just had a live event a couple of weeks ago and we got about 200 attendees there. And it was really successful. So that made me even more passionate to start doing this even more. So now all of a sudden we're doing weekly live calls with our guys. We're not getting paid for it. But like you said, we were really successful in that one thing. And that knocks over another domino to another domino and starts opening up other stuff. That's really awesome. I love it.
Yeah, and people don't see all the work you had to do for that event. And it's not that very fun. There's things to do. There's
stuck
deadlines.
In traffic. It sucked.
Yeah. But afterwards you're like, man, that was awesome.
Yeah, talk about planning a wedding, right, bro? That's
it really was.
I want you to jump into the 5 commandments. I love them because they resonate so much with multifamily, and they're in every business. And this is one thing that most entrepreneurs don't understand. Because I had a restaurant, I had one location. I could only service one location, and it really sucked. So I love those 5 commandments. And next, can you jump into them real quick for us?
Sure. For a business that, see, I'm about, if you're going to start a business, start something that can change your life. Don't start something that's just going to pay your bills. Because then you're, I mean, that's no different than a job. So the sense commandments is a litmus test or a criteria or a scaffolding of things that you want to look at when you're starting a business. Eventually, you want to satisfy all of them. And sense is control, C, E, entry, N, need, T, time, and S, scale. So control is you want to have control over everything in your business or have some power over things. And this comes into play because a lot of people will start a business that is fundamentally dependent on another entity. So if I invent a product and Walmart is the only person that carries that product, Walmart has the power to say, well, we don't want your product any longer. And then wham, bam, you're out of business. This happens a lot with Amazon. There's people who are making fistfuls of cash on Amazon, and they're kind of doing it kind of gray hat or black hat. And Amazon goes ahead and cancels their account, and they're out of business just like that.
You talk about YouTube also. You talk about YouTube also demonetizing people. Everyone sells videos or get ad revenue on YouTube. I mean,
Yes.
It goes down the list. You think you're making a ton of money, then all of a sudden they change the rules, and then you're out of business. So that really hit me really hard because I was like, wow, a lot of people are doing that.
And that's what you have to analyze when you're starting a business. Now, we all have control challenges. I mean, I sell a book. It's on Amazon. I don't expect Amazon to be canceling my account anytime soon, but it is a dependency that I'm aware of. So I focus on my forum, my customer list, my subscriber list. Those are things I can control. And so you want to be able to look at where these risk mitigating factors are. So that's control. And the next one is E, entry. And entry really says if it is really easy to get into business, meaning you fill out a form and wham, bam, 24 hours later, you're in business, that's probably not a good business to be in because anybody else can do that. And then you get competition, you get a lot of price depression, margin erosion. So what happens is with entry, what we're really looking at is the difficulty of getting in business is probably the opportunity itself. So the more complicated something is to get into, the better the opportunity. So you really want your entry into business to be more of a process versus an event. So it's a signifier of the solution you're solving. As entrepreneurs, we're all problem solvers. We're all value adders. So if you're solving a hard problem, you have a great opportunity. If you're adding difficult value or incremental value, you're solving a problem. So that's very important because, again, if it's easy, there's no real opportunity. There is no problem to be solved. Next one is the most important. I think it is like the tabletop, and the others are the legs, and that's need. Ultimately, as entrepreneurs, we have to provide the market something that it needs, and we do this by skewing value. And I go about this in Unscripted a little bit, but skewing value is the art of looking at something and doing something incrementally better in each area that gives you a unique proposition to the customer. Because anytime you buy something, you're telling the customer, you're telling the company when you give them your money, hey, you won the value competition. So we look at need as an amalgam of all these different value attributes that we're looking to skew. Value attributes could be your website is better, your product is better, your ingredients are better, the pictures on your website are better, your customer service, you have someone answering the phone. It really is different for every consumer. You may buy something because you like the picture on the website. Jake may buy something because it was slightly cheaper. We all have different factors that ultimately say, here's my money, you win the value competition. So what we do is we look at those value attributes and we start skewing them so they become more attractive to the end consumer, which ultimately ends up giving us, money as a business. The fourth one is time. And this is very important because ultimately our long game view is we want to free ourselves up from the old terrible equation of I'm trading my time for money. So we want to build a business that not only pays money, but pays time. And you do this by creating business systems that are existing separate from your time. So like I own a forum that runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I've published 2 books. Those exist. I can die tomorrow and those books will still exist in perpetuity. The website I started, 15 years ago, or how long it was, that website still exists. I've been long gone. So this is how you create systems that exist separate from your time. So that allows you actually to wake up in the morning and say, oh my God, I just made $300. Well, that's because you have a business system, that is working for you. Mm-hmm. And the final is scale. Ultimately, we want to be able to sell our business system or our solution to thousands of people, if even better, millions. Now, don't confuse this for, I need to sell millions and gazillions of product. It really doesn't have to be that much to change your life. I mean, if you have a $100 product and you only sell, a couple $1,000s of reoccurring, every month, you've built yourself a multi-million-dollar business that will change your life. Mm-hmm. And we're still talking about hundreds and thousands here, not millions. So what happens when you create a business system that's easily scalable, you become attached to this scale metric. Again, I wrote 2 books. I can easily print millions of books. That's scale. My forum can easily service millions of users. Again, that's scale. If you invent a product, you have the ability to scale that product to the masses to make millions. So it's all about replication and the ability to use that as your sort of a surrogate to making money. So you're not the one that's always going to have to be doing it. So that's the Sense Commandments.
I got so much to say right now because I just had my aha moment on why Gino recruited you for the show, because you just described like our multifamily strategy.
And that's why,
how many apartments do you own?
Yeah. He's got. Do you have any multifamily real estate, MJ? Do you own any?
No, I don't own any. I used to own a rental house. I don't own any longer.
Well, this is. I'm going to go down the list real quick because this is so appropriate. Control. We have a vertically integrated management company. Property management group. We own the apartments. We don't rely on anyone else. We basically do everything in house unless it's something extraordinary. So and then we'll shop the crap out of it to make sure we're getting a competitive price. So you talked about control. Entry. Very difficult to get into because brokers will shut you down, right?
It's not difficult. It's a limiting belief.
Hold on a second. Let me finish this. Brokers in the beginning, they want you to basically understand, the lingo. They want you to speak, and they want you to have had deals done. It took us 2 years to get in. I think it is, to your point, it's a limiting belief, but it is challenging in the beginning to get your first deal done. When you get that first deal done, it goes much quicker after that. Right. So I do think it is a challenge in the beginning, but when you knock out that first one, it goes fast. Entry, we just talked about that need. There's a huge need for affordable housing. I read Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac articles all the time. A tremendous need for that. Time, you're talking about basically pays times using systems. When you build your systems up, you hire employees, they handle it, you check the numbers and make sure things are in line. And you talked about scale. Listen, we basically refi and roll the proceeds into the next deal. Then you're serving 100 people. Now next month you're serving 300. You buy more assets. You're serving more people. So you just keep growing the business through your systems.
And the real estate aspect of time is important because time becomes your asset, becomes your ally. As time passes, you make money because rent has to be paid. So all of a sudden time shifts from, oh my God, I have to check into work and trade my life away, trade my hours, or trade a yearly salary for something. That's time is your enemy. When you have a property that is rentable and you're renting it, you look, hey, time has passed. Great. That's another rent payment.
Mm-hmm. Plus they're paying down your mortgage for you.
Exactly. So that is, again, that's the dichotomy shift there where you're turning time around to work for you instead of against you.
You like that, Jake? Basically,
Boom shakalaka. I'm out.
He's telling everyone to buy multifamily. I like that. He's been really tame on hammering the institutions of finance and the media. I want MJ, if he can jump into the 3 roadmaps: the sidewalk, the slow lane, and the fast lane, because I think it's important for people to see that mindset. And I think he talks about mindset as being like mind shit, because basically people are stuck into there. I love him just to dive into those 3 and talk about which ones are really awful and how you can get into the fast lane.
Sure. In my first book, The Millionaire Fast Lane, I discussed there's 3 classifications of I don't want to say people, but life outlooks, life plans, life strategies, and that's the sidewalk, the slow lane, and the fast lane. The sidewalk is pretty much most people. They have no financial plan. They live paycheck to paycheck. Everything they earn is spent, and then they spend more with credit. They're terribly wrapped up in consumerism, and I'm not just talking consumerism for products and cars and whatever. I'm talking about media, entertainment, celebrity worship, crying over the Dallas Cowboys lost the football game and they're in the stands crying. How pathetic. I look at that and it's just mind blowing to me that a football team is lost and you're crying for, I don't know why. What, you lost money, your kids are going to jail. I mean, what is it? So that's a typical sidewalk characteristic. Now, the interesting thing about the sidewalk, it is income immune, meaning you could be a millionaire and still be on the sidewalk. And this is why we see a lot of professional athletes who make millions and millions of dollars, and suddenly they're bankrupt 3 years after they retire. That's because their mindset, their long game plan is a sidewalk plan, which everything that they spend goes out. So when the job ends or the career ends, they end up filing bankruptcy because they've never had a financial plan to begin with. So that's interesting, is that you can have very affluent people driving Lexuses and Mercedes, and they're still sidewalkers because they got this huge payment on the car. And as soon as they lose their job, they lose their gig, they lose their career, that Mercedes is going bye-bye within months. So that's sidewalk. That's pretty much, I would say, most of the world. The second plan is the slow lane, which is a mainstream fed long game plan that seems to be a reasonable upgrade from the sidewalk. And it is, because it involves more discipline. And that means saving your money. The slow lane narrative is something you all heard before, and that is, go to school, get a job, save 10% of your paycheck, do that for 50 years, put it to Wall Street, trust everything you have to Wall Street. And then after 50 or 60 years, relax. You're going to be a multimillionaire and you can retire and you can do all you wanted to do, and just trust us for 50 years to grow this money for you. And it will work out fine. And meanwhile, while you're doing this for 50 years, you're reminded to be frugal. Don't eat out too much. Don't buy the steak. Don't do this. So you're basically told to live a life-sucking existence of mediocrity. So by the time you're 65 or 70, you can finally spend the millions of dollars you have saved. So the slow lane is all based on hope. Hope you're alive after 50 years. Hope the government doesn't hyperinflate your money with inflation. Hope Wall Street doesn't cheat you. Oh boy, Wall Street, aren't they trusted entities to trust our life savings with for 50 years? So this whole scam, and I do call it a scam, I call it the compound interest scam.
It is.
Saved $100 a month for the next 50 years and you'll have $6.2 million after, X number of years. That is a scam. And it's not a scam because the math doesn't work. The math does work. You can put it on a napkin and it works. The reason why it doesn't work is because it doesn't take into account human reality. Asset classes need to be attached to a growth rate. Whenever they say, 10% a year, they cherry pick whatever asset, that has worked. And obviously right now that's the S&P 500 because it's, gone up 25% this year. So this scam has really built up some credibility this year because it's a good year for it. But the reality is, where are all the 65-year-old multimillionaires right now if compound interest was so effective? See, reality is a lot different. If you don't have a job that you can save, the economy hasn't given you a job that has paid well. You have to live, 50, 60 years to make it. It's just so many variables involved in this thing. And it is backstopped by the financial industry, trillion-dollar industry, the government, trillion-dollar industry, student college institutions, another $1 trillion. I mean, this whole scheme is backstopped by trillion-dollar industries who make money on your belief that that system works. And the third is the fast lane, which is what I teach, and that is exploding your income and net worth quickly through leveraged entrepreneurship. Leveraged entrepreneurship is what we just talked about with the Sense Commandments. That is the ability to make a lot of money relatively fast because you use those commandments. And that is possible. Again, I make 5 and 6 figures monthly. And when you're making 5 and 6 figures monthly, becoming a millionaire suddenly doesn't take 50 or 60 years. It only takes a few years. And when you follow those commandments, this becomes a probability as opposed to an unlikelihood with compound interest, which is slim and none, and then you have to wait 50 years. So we're all about shifting probability to making this instead of a long shot, you actually have some decent probabilities of creating this wealth quickly. Get rich quick happens all the time. That's a big belief, limiting belief. Get rich quick happens all the time. I got rich quick. Millions of people get rich quick.
That's
exactly. Right. What happens is get rich easy does not exist.
Jake,
so
let me
jump. There's a very important distinction there. And I'm simply trying to get you to understand the metrics that make get rich quick possible.
Mm-hmm.
Gino, I was just saying I got rich quick, baby. You go. You get it.
Well, no. What I wanted to say, I posted something on our Facebook page yesterday from David Bach. He's like, finish rich. Who the hell wants to finish rich? You want to live rich. And a lot of our guys commented back, but I think our mentality is that's how everyone's driven into, that's the whole scheme there. What I like in the book is he hammers a lot of people. I don't want to name names. I guess if he wants to, they talk the slow lane, but they live in the fast lane. They sell books. You got all the gurus. Susie Orman's out there in the world. She's not investing. She's got her 25 mil in 4% muni bonds, tax free. So she's making $100,000 a month in income. But she's teaching people this crap. So I think to me that's criminal, honestly, or negligent because she's doing the opposite of what she's teaching. And I think people like that give guys like us what we're trying to do, what we're trying to teach a bad name. Sure. What do you think about that? There are so many hypocrites in this space.
I actually hate being in this space because it is filled with paradox of practices, hypocrites that teach one thing and they sell another. Mm-hmm. I'll give you an example. Some years ago, there was a website, I don't even need to name it, but it was a website that was preaching the mediocrity game, use coupons, use this, don't do that, give all your money to Wall Street and be patient. And, the guy was preaching this and some company came along and bought his website for like $2 million or something. And it was like the irony doesn't hit with people. Uh-huh. This guy was just selling this slow lane program of do this, do that. And yet some company just came along and said, we like what you're doing here, selling this slow lane concept. We're going to buy you for $2 million. And all of a sudden, he got rich quick by selling one thing but doing another. Mm-hmm. And that, in effect, is a lot of the industry. I mean, when you have millions of dollars under management and making a half, quarter basis points or whatever it is, you don't give a shit what the market is doing because you have all those assets under management. So their belief, there's an old saying, I don't remember what it is, but about someone's agenda. They're teaching you whatever their agenda is, but they're not actually practicing it. And that's frankly, too often in this space. So we like to try to educate people so they can spot the difference of, I've sold millions of books teaching you how to get wealthy in the stock market.
My buddy Len would be mad at me if he didn't ask you about college. What are your thoughts on college, the education now? And I mean, it's different for everybody, but what do you think? Should kids go to college, $100,000, or should they skip it? Or what are your thoughts about the whole system?
It depends on the economic outlook for whatever they're going into. Mm-hmm. Obviously, a STEM career would probably be worth the cost. Again, it depends on the individual, field of the modality of the pursuit. But in general, I would say no, it's not worth it. For me, I look at college as a leather-lined conveyor belt into the scripted slaughterhouse. So you can become indebted. You can get wrapped up into consumer culture, into peer upsmanship, where you need the better car, the faster car, the trendier clothes. It is just it's like an indoctrination camp now. Depending on what you're studying and where you're going. And when I'm saying indoctrination, I'm not necessarily meaning a particular political persuasion, but indoctrination into becoming mediocre and becoming a victim and becoming a consumer, a consummate consumer who must always work to pay off the consumption and then more, the mortgage, 50-year mortgage, 30-year mortgage. Yeah. It's all a part of the scripted machine to create obedient economic slaves.
The Six Cedars in your book, The Indoctrinators, you got family and friends, you got education, corporate, financial, government, and finally media, guys. That's why you got to buy Unscripted, because you read those six and it's like, wow, you're getting indoctrinated from all over the place. You're getting bombarded from everybody. And your friends and family are probably the worst, because they're like, well, you got to go to school. Everyone else does. The guy down the street does. So that's really powerful. And there's another thing that really touched me in the book. Talk about being a producer versus a consumer, because that's the name of the game right now. No one really focuses on producing. We're all focusing on consuming. Can you speak to that real quick for us?
Absolutely. The reason why I can advocate questioning college going at all if you're not going to do something in STEM is because we live in a spectacular time where you can learn anything you want if you just go on the internet and apply some time to the study. Everything that I have created in my life, I actually learned after I graduated from college. And that's because of the beauty of the internet. So ultimately, to not play this game, the best way to win this game is not to play it. It's actually more to serve the game. Instead of becoming a player, you become a game master. And that means, you become a producer. Instead of consuming goods, you are producing goods. Instead of trampling into a Walmart at 5 a.m. on a Black Friday, you're the one that people are trampling other people over for your product. Not that I want people to trample over each other, but I'm just using that in jest, that you are the one that is selling now. You're not the one that is buying. So we ultimately want to become producers. So the more you produce and the more value you provide to your fellow human being, making life better, making the world a better place, and this goes from all political persuasions. I consider myself somewhat of a environmental person. You would never guess that, or an animal rights person. You would never guess that, but there's value to be created here in protecting these industries. So there's value to be created everywhere if you just know how to start to think like a producer and not a consumer. And then once you start producing wonderfully, and the money will follow. And then you can consume whatever you want. And here's the thing. Once you become into a position of being able to consume whatever you want, more than likely you won't.
That's annoying about it, right?
I can look in a window and see a Lamborghini, and it brings me some joy that I could look at that and say, yeah, I can buy that right now if I want to and pay cash for it. But I don't need to. Yeah. It's having that choice available to me is incredibly empowering. So curtail the consumption and start aligning yourself to be a producer, and then the world opens up to you in all different kinds of, and then you start following your passion. You can start writing music and writing and not having to worry about, oh my God, is the publisher going to like this? Or, people are going to like this. I don't care. I'm writing it. I don't need your money. If you like my message, great. If you don't, okay.
And that's how Jake and Gino started. We basically started an education company because I left my restaurant. I became quote unquote financially free. TGIF, thank God I'm free. And I'm writing stuff. We're doing podcasts and I'm creating value for people. If you don't like it, you don't like it. I'm not under the gun. I don't need to make money with what we're doing here. And that's like the most empowering. We did in a live event. I didn't need to make money at that live event. And it allows you to take risks in life. It allows you to look at things a lot differently. It allows you not to look at the me. I think you got to get older. People always look at me instead of looking at what do you need? It's not what I need. It's what does MJ need in his life? Do you need some information on multifamily, or do you need a life coach? Or do you need a business coach? You need somebody to talk to? Those are all powerful things that people don't look at. They're always looking at the inner self instead of looking at serving others. So those are all the messages that I found in the book. So
you take two magnets that are polarized, they repel. You have to flip one of them. So when you have two selfish entities, the market itself is very selfish. It wants what it wants. It's singular in purpose. Doesn't give about what you want. You want to be your own boss. It doesn't care about any of that. So if you approach the market with the same selfishness, you bounce. You reflect. If you flip that around and you become unselfish and approach the market, wait, what does this market want? What's it crying for? What's it desperately need? Suddenly, they attract. So you have to look at it like magnets. Are you polarizing yourself to the market, or are you attracting yourself? If you're selfish, you're going to struggle.
I agree with that totally. MJ, if somebody comes up to you and says, MJ, I want to get into business, what's the first few things that I need to do? What would you recommend to them?
Be led by the need. Be led by the solution. A lot of people, I don't know where to start. What books should I read? What this, what that? The greatest businesses have always started with, I was looking to do X, so I went off and did it. So if you're engaging in life, and that's the key to everything, is you want to engage in life, you're not going to find needs and opportunities sitting around on the couch. So when you're engaging in life, you will expose there's problems in the world. So until the world is perfect, there's always going to be opportunity. So if you have a problem, and a problem could just be a simple value skew, you provide better customer service than the other guy. Your restaurant has a better ambiance, but the food is, still good, but it has better. It's just simply a value skew. So once you identify an area where you can skew variables, skew value, that will lead you to your next cause of action. So people always ask me, what book are you reading, or what book should I read next? You should read the book that helps you solve the problem that's in front of you. I don't read books just to read books. I read books because I have a problem that needs to be solved. Hey, I'm not doing a good job with marketing on YouTube, so I would look for a YouTube book. I don't know how to write dialogue in my next book, so I buy a book on how to write dialogue. So you want to be driven. See, this is how you're driven by the solutions you're seeking to solve, not just with business, but with yourself. You have weaknesses, so you look for the book that's going to improve your area. So that's why I never recommend a particular book, because it depends on where you're at.
I agree with that. This is, I guess, my last long answer question. I read the book Unscripted. There's 17 hours on Audible. There's so many topics and so many things in here. What did I miss? What else would you say, is empowering in the book? What other message would you like to, share with the audience about the book?
Well, it could be a lonely journey. It could seem like the world is against you, because the world lives by, again, it's unscripted, but the world lives by a script. And that script is everywhere. You really can't turn it off. You turn on the TV, it's there. You turn on the internet, it's there. It is everywhere. So you have to really, create a set of expectations for yourself that you're going to be inundated with this stuff. In order to not play that game, you have to be aware of the game. So the whole book is really encompasses a lifestyle, encompasses a way of living, as opposed to, you're just starting a business and you're going to learn how to pay your bills. No, this is an existence. This is what I like to say, I'm doing what I want to do. You know, I'm paying cash for the house. I'm not needing your mortgage. I'm not needing this. I'm not doing that. It's the ultimate ability to live autonomously. And they've proven that autonomy is the key to happiness. It's 50% of your happiness quotient. So I'm really going after that metric there, that you can self-direct the purpose in your life, the meaning, that what you want to do, how you want to change the world. And when you change the world, you change your own life. It's an incredible type of arrangement that is pretty obvious, but it goes unseen.
Mm-hmm.
Man, bringing the pain today. So, guys, I'm going to take a quick break to give a shout out to our sponsor, CrowdStreet, who believes investors of all sizes should have access to quality commercial real estate investment opportunities. The CrowdStreet marketplace features vetted commercial real estate investment offerings from over 100 sponsors from across the U.S. Download a free copy of their commercial real estate investing guide at crowdstreet.com/wheelbarrow. Man, I'm having fun today. This is refreshing stuff here.
Jake doesn't read, so I know this is his reading right now, so it's okay.
This is it. We do a podcast a week, and I get a little knowledge dropped on me, which is needed. MJ, so is there a habit that you do on a weekly or monthly, basis or a daily basis that you found that has helped you become more successful?
I think having the right expectations is incredibly useful. Believe it or not, I set my expectations when it comes to other things and other people, things I can't control. I set them very, very low. And that means I cannot be disappointed. Mm-hmm. Because if that expectation is met, then, well, I've already expected it. But if it goes above and beyond that expectation, then I'm happy and excited that, wow, things happen better. So another thing with expectations is the knowledge that there is no shortcut, because we live in a world that wants a shortcut. We want it with pills. We want it with diet and exercise. We want it with success. We want it everywhere. And as soon as you give up that ghost, that, okay, there's no shortcut. I'm going to have to work my ass off. I'm going to have to work longer and harder. I'm going to have to do what a lot of other people won't do. I'm going to have to get uncomfortable. That makes things a lot more easier to grapple with because you're not looking for the shortcut. People struggle in life, not because they struggle with the struggle. They struggle because they can't find a shortcut. So they're constantly on that search, and that's why they're struggling. If they drop the shortcut and just say, you know what, I'm going to diet, I'm going to change my diet, I'm going to exercise, and all of a sudden they would have the change they wanted. So that expectations is paramount, is a habit that I think has helped me.
Commitment, dedication, persistence is all lacking, and that's the shortcomings, I think, for a lot of folks. I mean, it took us 2 years to get our first investment, our first multifamily deal, and then really another 2 years to even kind of get some of our shit together. So, I mean, it's a 4-year process before we were somewhat established, So I think a lot of that's very valid stuff. Yeah,
that's process and event.
Yeah.
It's huge in the book. I wish we could get into it, but that's something that you got to look in the book. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's covers with the shortcut. The shortcut is the event. People are looking for the event.
That's right.
And trying to bypass the process.
Yeah. Yeah, man. There's a lot of similarities in our stuff here. This has been really good. What project are you excited about right now?
I'm actually writing Unscripted as a 3-part series. Oh. The second book is going to be a fiction book, where it's a fictional story of a person struggling to start a business, and he goes through the trials and tribulations, and he finds himself in the struggling to find the unscripted life, and we get to see and experience his trials.
You could probably just call me after this. We get off here, and you can just take my story down. It'll be pretty appropriate for you, right? What is the? I'm sure you have a website. Why don't you tell us about your website and the best way for listeners to get a hold of you?
Sure. The forum I mentioned earlier is called the fastlaneforum.com. It's a forum I started 10 10 years ago. And it's absolutely free. There's a lot of free content there. And the thing is, I am there every single day, practically every single day, contributing. I answer questions from people. So that is where I find a lot of the content that I see people are struggling with, where I get some insight. So again, that's the FastLaneForum.com, or any of my 2 books, Unscripted or The Millionaire Fastlane, are on Amazon.
And it's all mjdemarco.com?
mjdemarco.com, yes, I own that, but I don't really update that, so I wouldn't, there's nothing there other than links to the forum.
Gotcha. All right, cool. Gino, you got anything else?
2 quick stories about the entrepreneur and what I liked in his book also. He said something about his listening to the market. He said on Fastlane Forum, it was for free. All of a sudden, people were asking for more, and he started an upsell where he started charging people, and he thought that was a crazy idea, correct? But that was the market telling him that's what they wanted. And the other one was the landing page. He hates you hate landing pages, correct? You think they suck? I think they suck too. But they work to collect emails, and you were against that. But that's how you're smart and intelligent and an entrepreneur who can really weave and actually listen to what the market wants. So I think you have to be very flexible and very, I guess, not egotistical, right? Because if you're an ego guy, you're like, I'm going to do it my way, but your way sucks. If your way's the wrong way, it's the wrong
exactly. Way. Yeah, the market will echo what it wants to you. And the example you just gave is I had people on my forum. They didn't like the ad monetization, and they said, "Hey, we'll pay you, $9 a month to, get rid of this." And I was like, "Man, who the hell would pay $9 a month for an ad-free forum?" It just was bizarre, but I did it anyways. Fine, I'll do it. And that ended up making me probably $500,000 just by listening to what the customer wanted, even though it was dabbed against what I thought was right. Again. Would you rather be right, or would you rather be rich? I'd rather be rich.
I love that. I think everyone's got to run out there, buy the first book, Millionaire Fastlane. Buy that first book, consume it. Take your time, read it through, let it sink in. Take a couple of days off, buy the next book, read it, consume it. Buy the book on Audible also, so you have it in the car. You need to hear it a couple times because you've been beaten down for the last 40 years. You weigh 300 pounds. You're not going to lose weight in 6 months. It's taken you 30 years to put that weight on. It's taking you 40 or 30 years to listen to the crap. So you have to detox, and it's okay. And that's why you need to be on his forum, listening to his message. You have to listen to our forum, listen to our message, and just stay locked in into people who are positive. So I'm really thrilled. I'm really honored that you took the time to spend and share your message with us. Good luck. I
got one more for you, MJ. I was just thinking, really, I think you have a very interesting outlook on life and it's sort of like life philosophy, if you will. Where did that come from, and how did that develop? Is there anything that it's stemming from, or is that just through the trials and tribulations?
I don't know. I don't know if it was a particular enlightenment or what, but I just never, for some reason, when I was young, it scared me to see, 60-year-old men in 3-piece polyester suits getting on a train at 6 a.m. to go down to Chicago and not returning until 7 p.m. And I looked at it, I say, they've done this for 40, 50 years. And for what? And it's like, we're giving away 5 days of our life, Monday through Friday, just so we can live Saturday and Sunday. It just didn't make sense to me. And I started questioning, we never do that. Why are things the way they are? I mean, Monday through Friday, right there's an example. That's a human construct for obedience. Monday is the same as a Saturday. Saturday is the same as a Tuesday. Except humans have made it where, no, you're supposed to work Monday through Friday. You're supposed to go to school Monday through Friday. That's not the way it needs to be. Mm-hmm. You can smash that paradigm in the face and say, I'm not doing it. I'm going to find an escape from this game so I don't have to play it.
I love it. Very cool. Hey, thank you very much, and appreciate your time.
Thanks, MJ.
Hey, I had a blast, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
We trust that you enjoy the Wheelbarrow Profits podcast. Visit jakeandgino.com, your one-stop shop for everything multifamily. See you next time when Jake and Gino share more of their investing secrets with you.